morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are, and welcome to another NerdTube episode review. We are here tonight talking about Strange New Worlds, Season 2, Episode 4, Among the Lotus Eaters. I'm Mage Rage, and it wouldn't be a Star Trek episode review without my Trekkies in arms. To my right is, well, he's forgotten his name. How are you tonight? I forgot my name.
Fantastic, but I did remember that I saw Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, which is why I'm wearing my indie shirt today in honor of that. I've now seen all 5 indie films. I'm very satisfied, but yes, I have forgotten my name.
Well, glad you're excited about that. I think we'll probably end up talking about that tomorrow night, but we can plug at the end. Down below is Fuck the Prime Directive. How are you tonight, sir?
Here to fuck the Prime Directive. I'm not calling it the next day.
Is that's the chainway maneuver? I think that's the answer.
Chainway maneuver, yeah. Oh god.
So pretty decent episode this week. I feel like it was kind of a return more to form for Strange New Worlds. Last week's episode didn't really tick many boxes at all for me.
Oh, you didn't like last week?
I did not. It could have been colored by my state of mind the last week, but I just couldn't get invested in that episode at all. But was fairly impressed with tonight's episode. How about you, gentlemen? Overall impressions? We'll start with you, Zam.
Well, I had to find out what this planet was initially, because they were going on about they've been here before. So I'm thinking to myself, were they here in season 1? And I realized they weren't. And then
Discovery season 2, right?
No, was this planet in season 1? I mean, the planet they went back to, but they were talking about it in the past tense, like they've been there before, and
yeah,
obviously. But then I realized it was the planet that was they went to in the pilot episode of the original series. That's what that planet was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I think this series, then it made me realize that this series is actually set after the pilot episode as well. So there we go. That's what I've learned then after that as well. Anyway, overall, what I thought of this episode, I liked it. I liked it a lot, because it's one of those episodes where there's something that's affecting everybody, and they have to resolve the issue, and that's classic Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I love episodes like that, where I've seen it in TNG in the past, where people lost their memories and stuff like that, and just them coming to resolve it was something that I always find fascinating. I'm always intrigued. How do they do it? What do they have to do? And yeah, I like this episode a lot.
Well, looking forward to talking about it in more detail, but you're absolutely correct. This kind of is like a classic type of Trek plot. Ship-wide disaster, mysterious condition affecting the crew. You've got a away team in distress down on the planet. Just classic stuff. Felt a lot like a TOS episode and a TNG episode. Cheeto, what were your thoughts?
I thought this episode did one thing right. I thought it did, because normally it's, when they're on a planet and there's something going on, like they're forgetting or losing their memories, it's normally only on the planet or only on the ship. And I like the fact that it kind of affected both places at this point. And it was kind of like they were dealing with the same struggle on the ship as well as on the planet. Because, normally it's like, oh, we can't contact the captain. Why not? Oh, because, the away team lost their memory, but everybody else on the ship is fine. It's like, no, like this is going on all over. So I thought it was very interesting they did it that way, and I liked it that way, just because it kind of gave us two different, like the same scenario, but two different settings,
Two different perspectives on it, and two different chances for exposition as well. Something I really appreciated about their take on this is something that they don't usually do, especially if it's a mental affliction affecting the crew. The Vulcan was affected by it.
Yeah.
usually Spock's, T'Pol's, and Tuvok's are kind of
resistant to
this
everything, but
right, because of their superior Vulcan neurological system. And
I mean,
the half. Let's just say the half human was affected by it. We can also say that. I'm not going to call him half Vulcan. Half human was affected by it, so you can look at it from that perspective. And on top of that, I feel that what this was affecting was people who are organic, regardless of their species.
Yeah, it seemed to be, no matter what, if you had that type of, a humanoid brain, it's going to be affected by this radiation. But I think it was good writing to not have Spock, be immune to it and be able for him to be the one to make sure and handle everything. It not only did it get a chance for one of our new cast members to get to kind of be the one to save the day up on Enterprise, but it also made the peril feel a little more real, at least for me. Is like, well, don't have the Vulcan.
I do have my gripe. I know we're going to go play, but if I don't mention it now, I'm worried I'm going to forget it.
Go for it.
It's like we have a little castle, with windows and doors and stuff like that can somehow shield you through the radiation, and also you can wear Magneto helmets that can shield you through the radiation. But you're in a spaceship in space, with all this, totally locked away from the atmosphere of the outside fucking world or whatever universe, and somehow that's seeping its way into the ship, affecting everyone on it. Somehow that stuff like that bugs me. I find that a bit stupid personally.
Yeah, no. Magic metal protects better than space age.
Just like Magneto's magic helmet, stops brainwaves. Before we move on, let's jump into the comments. So Daniel Vance says, initiate invariant sweep, danger, radiation, all organic life forms. Please wait at embarkation. Oh, stations. Sweep commencing. So we have to get off because there's a barium sweep happening. I wonder if Xanta's ever heard of Christmas in July. That's true. We have never had a visit from Xanta in July, I don't think.
That I don't think that's happening.
He's still at the South Pole, right?
South Pole, North Pole, he's fucking Upper Pole. He's
probably sitting on that pole. Let's be real.
That
Xanta's a freak.
Stripper pole.
He's smoking a pole.
Directed by Eduardo Sanchez, the same man who directed The Blair Witch. Okay. It did kind of have that thriller. It did have that somewhat dark thriller vibe to it, I felt. You know what I mean? Like, not like action, but like thriller. Like, it was very just... I was waiting for Pike to like hold the camera and be like, "I'm so scared." Commodore Boone says, "Hello, nerd guys."
Hello, Boone, and yes, thank you. By the way, lovely job on your fan film. By the way, you guys need to see Commodore Boone's latest fan film. If you haven't seen it, watch it.
Okay. Daniel Vance says the treatment for the forgetting might be how Uhura re-obtains her memories after Nomad took them. TOS the changeling. That is true. It might be. They just changed the harmonics of something, and then all of a sudden, we can deflect everything. This episode reminded me of TOS, whom gods destroy. The Garth of Izar, a former starship fleet captain who loses his mind and becomes Lord Garth of a planet. They do that a lot. Like, you remember the episode in Voyager with the Ferengi? And, they made themselves gods on this planet on the other side of that wormhole?
Yes.
Yeah.
Was Jeffrey Combs one of them? I can't remember. I feel like he's like every Ferengi ever.
I don't think he was up in that episode, but he's played at least two different Ferengi, because he played Brunt and he played a Ferengi on Enterprise on that episode.
Right. I just watched that episode not too long ago in preparation for Debatamania, which, more to come eventually one day.
It will happen. We will make it happen. We'll find a partner. Make it so.
Yeah, we got to find Zam a partner. Somebody who despises Enterprise but knows
No,
enough about it.
please. I don't despise Enterprise. I just
Okay,
don't think it
somebody
was
who
that
thinks somebody who
good.
doesn't think Enterprise is like any good. There we go.
I actually enjoyed some of the moments and stuff like that, but I always felt that it was the wrong direction for the series to go. Like they had no more ideas what to do with the current timeline of Trek after TNG, DS9, and Voyager. So they thought, let's just go back in time because going forward is just too difficult. So yeah.
Jim says, "Thanks, Zam. I'm sure you'll be reviewing my fan film Strange Signal." Is that the one?
Oh yeah, we're gonna review everything you've ever done in your entire life. So help you, General Zod.
So anyway, Mage, back to you. Back to
All
you in
right.
the studio, Mage.
Thank you for that report there on the field, Cheeto. We're going to jump right into it since Cheeto has somewhere to be tonight. I'm going to try to be as brief as possible when you get to a part where you really have something you want to say about a scene or dynamic or a theme in the episode. Just go ahead and stop me. But this one starts with Pike explaining in his log that the Enterprise is mapping a binary system in conjunction with the USS Cayuga. That's the ship that Captain Battelle happens to be the captain of. He and her...
Wow.
Captain Booty Call.
Yeah, Captain Booty Call.
They try to have dinner, but are constantly interrupted by calls from their respective crews, and ultimately she receives a call from an admiral. It eats up most of their time for dinner, and she gets the bad news that she's been passed up for a promotion.
Do we know what the promotion was? Was it Admiral or Commodore? Do we know?
Commodore.
Okay.
It was to Commodore, so
Boone better watch out. Another
Battelle's
Commodore
coming
up the ranks.
So Pike uses this as kind of a jumping off point for saying that they should step back their relationship a little bit. He feels that, her involvement with him is starting to hurt her career, and it's just so impossible for two captains to be able to make the time. She's understandably upset. I mean, she just gave him a, present. an Opelian Mariner's keystone, and this is going to, be an important plot piece later on.
Yeah, I don't get it, Pike. Like you're looking, if you're gonna like do the old like keep our distance, bang her first before you do it. Like Jesus Christ, Pike, what were you thinking?
He's already banged her. Like what?
Yeah, but nevertheless, he still needs to fulfill himself on that particular moment, regardless of how many times he's done it. They are on different ships and they don't always see each other. He's made the effort for making dinner and stuff like that. She's definitely booty call, and he's not done the deed, and then he wants to break up with her. Like, what, you think
wrong thing?
Like, you think she's still going to open up to him, for one more night on the tiles after breaking up with her? Come on, Pike, what the fuck, mate? Anyway,
but
first officers are what booty calls are for. All right, go ahead, Zam, or go ahead, Mage.
So Battelle leaves, understandably upset, and Pike receives a call from Una. She's relaying a message that she has been contacted by Starfleet Command in regards to Rigel 7. This leads to a briefing with the senior staff, where it's explained that the Enterprise visited this planet 5 years ago, but were ambushed early on in the away mission. 3 crew members were killed, Spock was grievously wounded, and they got the hell out of there. Recent photography from space has revealed a Starfleet Delta in the gardens of a castle on the planet of this Bronze Age civilization. So they have to go back and recover any tech that was left and figure out how far the cultural contamination has gone. So they're going to go down in disguise to make that happen. After the briefing, Una stays behind, and she asks why Battelle left in such a hurry. Pike fills her in on the details of his personal life, and she tells him, "Oh, you're self-sabotaging again." And she goes on to say the captains even deserve love and happiness too, as much as anybody else. They switch gears, and Pike reveals his guilt over what happened in the incident 5 years ago, and says that the Enterprise will clean up its own mess. we then get the intro. Anything else you want to talk about these scenes?
No, not really.
Okay, after the intro, we get Ortegas's log is our next bit of exposition. She's excited to pilot an away mission. They're going to need
I remember this from a little snippet that was shown months before this series was supposed to come out. And
this was like the first footage revealed, and I'm like, it's like from episode 4. I'm like, wait, what? I thought this would be like the beginning of the season, but I mean, it is kind of still the beginning of the season, but
yeah, I think I saw this early, like late last year or something. You know, like
it was a while ago they released this footage.
Yeah.
But she meets up with Pike, Alon, and Mbenga at the launch bay, and Spock comes down with bad news. There's a debris field that's going to require somebody to stay on Enterprise and make constant course corrections to keep the ship safe, and that's got to be Erica.
I'm kind of pissed off for Ortegas.
Because
here's the thing, is like as soon as Uhura was, and I know I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but I'm just going to bring it up now. The first sign like that Uhura was having any issues, Ortegas left the bridge. Ortegas left the bridge with Uhura, and then Una just took over. Why couldn't Una just pilot the ship?
No, but she needs to command the ship. They need to command.
No, but there's other pilots. Come on,
wake up the beta shift person.
Yeah, wake up the beta shift. Come on.
Well, that person needs their sleep as well. But look, personally, I feel that a Starfleet vessel needs more than 2 pilots. I mean, I'm sure everyone is capable of maybe flying a ship, but obviously the skill level of piloting for asteroids is another level. So I totally get that. I personally feel that with today's technology, the AI on the ship would be capable of piloting itself through the asteroids without an actual pilot, steering it in the first place. That's what I personally believe, anyway.
The ship's computer receives the telemetry faster than a human can process it, and can instantly make the corrections way quicker than a human could process, much less react.
Yeah. Didn't they do that on Voyager once, where like the computer did all the course corrections? And was that Voyager? Or was that? I don't remember.
No, those.
There was an episode where like they had to turn the ship over to the computer to make all the course corrections because no biological being could do it fast enough. And I want to say it was. I mean, it also happened to Picard with Data. Technically,
I was about to say they ripped that. That did happen before, but Picard totally ripped that moment off.
Yeah, Data's the one. Yeah, Dana Vance just really quick says, "I saw the Garden Delta and immediately thought Boothby would be proud. He would. Boothby, R.I.P. Boothby."
So yeah, it's kind of BS. I actually felt mad for Ortegas too in this instance.
No, but at the same time, this is the thing as well. I've always had a problem with Star Trek, is like the people who are piloting the ships and are on the bridge happen to be the same people that go onto away missions. Now, personally, I think that you need different members of the crew to do different things. So if like the people who are piloting the ship shouldn't be the people going down on the surface. Their job is to pilot the ship. So stay on the fucking ship and pilot it. And other people's jobs are to go down on the surface and see them. Obviously, they're not going to do that in real life because this is all fictional. But you see where I'm coming from.
No, I honestly feel like they were originally going to take Ortegas because didn't they have to navigate debris going down to the planet too? Wasn't that?
It was like bad winds and stuff like that, like sheer radiation. They needed a crackerjack pilot, and then so that's why they picked her when she doesn't have the sort of melee fighting skills that Pike has picked the rest of the crew for. But he's just immediately like, I'm good enough to do it. Fine, I'll do it. I'm good enough.
What's the point of taking a take if Pike can do it himself? I mean, so I mean,
they just had to get. They had to get her plot, her little mini arc for the episode going, and I actually appreciate that they're giving one of these, the newer characters their own time.
is this going to be a recurring theme with this little fucking chipmunk? Is she going to constantly be like, I'm about to go on a way machine. Oh no, sorry, Atagus, you're going to have to stay back and do this. I'm about to go another way machine. Oh no, sorry, Atagus, you're going to have to stay back. This is going to be a recurring theme. Yeah, I mean, until finally she fucking goes down on the surface and everyone's going to be cheering to the rafters. Is that how it's going to play out in the future? I hope not.
That would get old pretty quick, but
Damn right. And you know what the best thing about this episode was today? We didn't get fucking hocus pocus fucking engineering woman.
Yeah,
on this.
I'm actually really glad we didn't get any of her this
Everyone
episode.
seems to love her.
I
Not
don't.
me. She
I
sounds
don't
like she's
like
drunk
her.
too many red wines and smoked too many fucking cigarettes. Yeah, I mean, I'm
Yeah,
not a fan of her at all.
I am not a fan. I don't care. Like they need to Shaxx Hemmer. What they need to do, they just need to not explain it. Hemmer just walks through the door and he's back in action. That's what they need to do.
I'd be down for it.
Yeah, I liked Hemmer a lot better.
So Pike proceeds to do his badass test piloting skills and get them down to the surface. He then informs Lon and Mbanga about what I just said, that he's picked them for this mission because of their melee combat ability. They're not taking any tech on this mission to risk any further cultural contamination.
Yeah, this is fucking stupid. I mean, they've been there with cultural contamination. There's already a fucking Starfleet insignia. I mean, what the fuck? Like they're gonna take a fucking telescope. Ridiculous.
How are you going to figure out how bad it is without sensors to see if you can detect? I don't know, technology they shouldn't have.
But they haven't done this before when it comes to primitive planets. Why now? It's just so fucking stupid.
I think it was just Pike being overly careful. He's like, "Oh, we're not leaving any technology behind again." So I mean, yeah.
I think they were doing it just so there's an excuse to bring Mbanga and they can do what they did with his little plot this episode of, wanting to forget the horrors of war and resenting, his war experience and skills, being thought of before his ability as a doctor, and that the feeling of that clash within his identity. But it's very far-fetched to go on a mission with just antique tools. So Lon starts.
Yeah, it's like sometimes like what they're asking them to use is beyond their understanding, because it's so ancient that they're not capable to comprehend what they're supposed to do with all this old school shit. It's beyond their understanding, but it's old school. If you know what I mean.
What would they know? How would they know what to do with a needle compass, for instance?
Yeah.
So Lon starts to get a ringing in her ears, and we get a cut, just out of nowhere to them standing out in the middle of a snowy field. She seems disoriented. She's lost a large track of time. The doctor becomes concerned, and they almost return to the ship, but Pike says that they don't have time to make it before nightfall, and they don't want to get caught out here when the temperature drops.
Now, 6 hours has passed. How the fuck did she get from there to where they were?
I mean, I've driven to work for over an hour, and like sometimes I sat down at my desk and I'm like, how did I get here? You guys have never had that where you just go on autopilot? And you
autopilot, yeah.
I mean, I know that's not what's happening here, but
no, she's
I'm just thinking
about it state.
Because she was like totally like, I can't even explain it. The only thing that's coming to my mind right now is that movie Switch with Adam Sandler, where with the remote control. I'm not sure if you've seen that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fucking terrible. And like he was able to like go through time using his remote control, fast forward his life, and he can skip to a different time period. But the person who would be taking over his body would still go through his life, if you know what I mean. And so I'm thinking to myself, is that what's happening with Laan? And no, that's not necessarily the case. But somehow she was able to get back on her feet, and walk all the way to where she did for 6 fucking hours, and Pike and Banga doesn't have any fucking clue that there's anything wrong with her until then. I thought all of that was fucking stupid. All of it is fucking stupid. It makes sense to the plot overall, but this like gap in time, fucking stupid. Anyway,
Daniel Van says, I really thought Una would have been more immune, if not fully immune to the radiation. We've seen her take deadly radiation before with her augmentations. I mean, I thought that when she started it later on in the episode, when she started to come down with it, I really did think that I thought like her.
Yeah, well,
like, my thought process was Una and Spock would probably either be resistant to it or immune to it. You know, that's typical. Vulcans are immune to everything that humans are, you know.
Is Spock the only non fully human or human person on the Enterprise?
Is he like the only extraterrestrial?
Yeah.
No, Una's and Illyrian.
Oh yeah, of course, yes, of course, yeah.
I mean, there's been. I mean, it's not like a plethora of people on the ship. I mean, most of them look human, but I mean, every now and then you get a glance at like an Andorian or a Tellarite or something.
Well, regarding Una, like even though she's got those augmentations, it's more to do with her physicality and not necessarily to do with her mentality. She might be a little bit more smarter, but she's not necessarily capable of like having like her brain reacted to by an outside force. In this case, asteroids. There's a couple of illegal aliens on the ship. Build that wall.
Ginger, we're gonna build the wall, and then we're gonna make Romulus pay for it.
Yeah.
Oh no!
Now make the Ferengis pay for it. Oh my god, blood out of a stone right there.
Yours is a way better pick. I'm kicking myself for not going with Ferengi.
Yeah, whatever. No, that was still a good joke. Zam just has to get his 2 cents in.
I was just thinking about people who don't pay. Romulans.
Well, but that's the thing. Ferengis have a lot of money. Mexico doesn't have a lot of money. So
yeah, Ferengis don't like to give away their money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So if anything, you'd say we're gonna make the Pac-Led pay for it because they're too dumb to have money. So
Pac-Led, yeah.
Anyway.
So as Pike and Lon go to scope out the castle, the ringing in her ears returns. They start seeing guards through the telescope armed with phaser rifles. Dr. Mbanga runs up saying they've got company, and he's immediately followed by guards. They try to talk their way out of it, but the guards say that they know they're from Starfleet. Mbanga starts to have the ringing sensation, and the crew are taken inside, and we do that other lost time kind of skip cut again.
This time with Benega, isn't it?
Yes, this time it's the Doctor, and they're brought before the leader of the Kalar, who turns out is one of the landing party from 5 years ago. This yeoman was not killed in action. He was just left behind by accident, and he blames Pike.
This was very clever as well, because when you saw the 3 faces of the people who were apparently killed in action in the pilot episode of TOS, his face stuck out because he wasn't clean shaven and all of that. There was something about him that made him stand out from the rest. And then there he is when you see him looking like fucking Genghis Khan and shit like that. Yeah,
I thought of Genghis Khan exactly too.
Yeah, exactly. Hello, Powerline. Welcome to the stream. Please add your thoughts on tonight's episode. All right.
So, Yeoman Zacharias explains that the ringing in the ears, the headache, and losing time are all going to progress into forgetting who you are, where you came from. He says that by the morning they won't remember anything. He has the guards grab them. The ringing and time loss cut happens again, and we see the away team locked in a cage outside.
So one second, please. Yeah, I saw that movie today. It's definitely better than Crystal Skull, but we will be talking about it tomorrow on the Sodomizer podcast, starting at 10 o'clock
The
UK
world
time.
is on fire. The world's destroying itself, or whatever podcast. Sodomizer
Yeah.
podcast. Jesus Christ.
All right, let's go.
World's gone insane. That's the name. Anyway, go ahead. Back to you, mate.
So Lon is passed out. When they wake her up, the fear that was mentioned before is displayed. She's very disoriented, terrified of them, doesn't know who they are. So then we see Captain Pike's memory fade before his very eyes because he's trying to piece things together and then just can't. On Enterprise, Uhura starts to have similar symptoms, and Una orders her to go to sickbay, and Ortegas goes with her, even though she was direly
It was imperative to pilot the ship,
and she could just leave and go to sickbay.
There. In this case, obviously, Una was there to do the job because she can do, and Una is a commanding officer, and she has more than one feather in her cap. But they need a regular pilot at the same time. If anything, they need two pilots, and Una ends up being the backup pilot, and so she's being used promptly as the backup pilot. I don't see the fucking problem. All right.
At sickbay, Chapel finds synaptic degradation in multiple lobes of Uhura's brain, but she doesn't really have it narrowed down as to what the cause could be. Spock calls, and apparently 6 people in engineering are beginning to become afflicted. So things are getting kind of dire on the Enterprise. We cut back to Rigel 7, and the guards are waking up our away team the next morning, and they open up the cages. The disoriented away team members don't come out of the cage initially and are about to get left behind when an elderly man walks up, and he kind of comes to their aid to help them get oriented. He begins talking about totems and being in the moment.
Basically, how to live in this life of forgetting everything. I mean, how do you get around it? And he's an expert at being forgetful, which is weird, right. But yeah.
The next scene, we get the reveal that they've been taken to forced labor camp. And the man says that it's a blessing, though, that it gives their life purpose. And he offers to help them have an easier forgetting the next night, and says that only people in the palace get to sleep. The people, the field Kalar, have the forgetting.
Well, he's a Kool-Aid drinker as well. I mean, it's because the people in the palace can remember everything. People outside the palace, like themselves, can't. And he's totally cool with that. I mean, he actually thinks it's not... there are aspects of it where I do get it, but by forgetting, you don't have the burden of trauma, which can be a massive issue. But at the same time, there are people amongst these guys who want to remember, because even though they are forgetting who they are. Their personalities are not changing. Pike is still very, forward thinking. He still wants to, get through things and do the right thing and all of these sorts of things. So that they still have these elements of their personality, which still makes them who they are, even if they don't remember who they are. If you know what I mean?
Yeah. Like there's a moment later on in the episode where Lon's like, "Give them hell for me," and just belies her inner warrior nature.
Yeah.
But the man starts to talk about how they use the tattoos and which he calls drawings, totems and each other to help remember the basic things like names and where they live,
and the colors as well.
Right, the colors identify
hard labor,
and the green cut the wood. So he says his name is Luke. Pike reasons out that they don't belong there between not having the drawings on their arms and not having calloused hands and such as that. he figures that they don't belong. They get ordered back to work. Lon and Pike start talking about the possibility of escape, and when a guard starts to make an aggressive move towards Luke, Pike uses that as his opportunity. He goes to his defense and then takes a swing the first opportunity he has. During a fight breaks out, Lon comes to Pike's defense when a second guard jumps in, but she ends up taking a gut cut herself. Dr. Mbenga, his doctor instincts kick in.
Yeah.
But he realizes that he doesn't have the capability to actually treat her properly without his memories.
But he does say that he knows that he can help her if he had the right.
If he had his if he had his memories back and had equipment, he could treat her. So Luke offers to take them someplace to lay low. On the Enterprise, Chapel explains basically all the stuff that we just had explained in the previous scenes to Una, who is disoriented and is becoming to succumb to this affliction as well. A third of the crew is down, and Spock has started passing out pads with your personnel file on it in the hopes that this will help you remember when your memory does fade away.
I mean, that was funny, that moment, because when they couldn't read it, I think Spock couldn't read it.
He ends up not being able to read, so it's completely
what the
pointless.
hell?
I wonder.
He forgot.
However, I wonder if it's in because it was in English.
But he's half human, dude.
But he grew up on Vulcan. So maybe I'm just saying, maybe I know it's not exactly the best explanation, but that was what I thought when he said I can't read.
He grew up on Vulcan with a human mother who now and again would remind him of his humanity, in my opinion.
I don't know. I think an okay explanation is that he grew up on Vulcan. Most of his core memory is of Vulcan, so maybe he just English may not be his first language. Keep in mind, he's probably using the universal translator when people are talking to him. He's probably speaking Vulcan when everyone's talking to him. He isn't speaking English, probably. He might be.
That's a possibility. Yeah, well, I mean, yeah. That's up in the air. It depends on how I've always looked at Vulcan
it's vague enough to be up for interpretation because they never explain it.
So. Yeah.
That's a good way of looking at it, though, and I didn't think about it like that, but I see where you're coming from with that. But Chapel and Spock think it could be a type of radiation that's causing this, and at Spock's behest, Una agrees to let them move the ship further away from the planet in the hopes that will make the situation better. Spock goes to the bridge and has Ortega do just that by going into the debris field. She thinks that's a bad idea, but he says that a lot of the ores will protect from the radiation. On the planet, Luke takes the 3 away team members to his home, where Mbenga once again says that he needs his memories to treat La'an. Luke says they should let it go and let her pass peacefully, that forgetting is a blessing. She's like, I don't want it to be my last breath yet.
Yeah, I'm not ready to die just yet, yeah.
But he reveals that the Palace Kalar remember, to plan for the future and record the past. So not only is he sipping the Kool-Aid, he thinks that they're doing him a favor. He tells of the legend that says the memories are stored in a casket within the palace. Pike says that they've got to go, and his conviction and the fact that what he's wanting to do is being driven by feelings, which Luke feels are the most important thing to remembering, convinces him that he should help them, even though he doesn't agree with their goal. Pike and Mbenga press onto the palace. They leave Luke and La'an nearby, so they're close when they get their memories back.
Yeah, because they know that they heard the fable, haven't they, about a special box that will get them their memories back. But it's become a fable amongst the forgotten, and Pike is he is a warrior to a degree. And that instinct is definitely kicking in. And yeah, him and Mbanga, who is a badass, we've realized now. I mean, he is an ass kicking doctor. I don't think we've ever had an ass kicking doctor before, have we? In Star Trek. If I'm wrong, please correct me.
Not that I can think of. And I think it's a really good dynamic. I think that, having a character where they can explore trauma, especially wartime trauma, I think that having that be a healer creates an interesting dichotomy that's ripe for exploration. But Luke and Pike discuss the necklace that Pike has, and Luke says that it's love that makes Pike feel so strongly and know that he's got to get back to whoever gave him this necklace. Luke reveals that he's covered up some of his drawings on his arm, and he doesn't want the memories back. He's happy not knowing what was about.
Were you getting Star Trek 5 vibes? I mean, I need my pain, from Kirk. I was getting a little bit of that as well. Like, don't, make me forget. I need my pain.
I don't know what Star Trek 5 you speak of. I don't think there was a Star Trek 5. I think they went from the one with the whales up to the undiscovered country.
Oh my God. This is the guy who fucking has a hard on for Enterprise, and he goes like this for fucking Star Trek 5. Are you mad? I mean, Star Trek 5 is not as bad as people make it out to be, in my opinion.
I just watched it last year. It's exactly as bad as I remember
Hey,
it.
row your boat.
Oh, row your boat. Oh.
Row your fucking boat.
You know what? Geez, Kirk, take the wheel. Oh.
Don't fucking mess with it. Row your fucking boat. And Spock's fucking Tony Stark fucking inspired Iron Man boots.
Yeah, you know what? You know what? I take it back. The best Star Trek ever. So help you, Zod.
And yeah, exactly. And Shakari. Remember that? Shakari.
Yeah. And God. What does Zam need with the starship?
Anyway.
Exactly. So, and we even got a bit of an emotional moment from Spock by him having to go. That Klingon officer goes, "Damn you, sir! You'll do this and that and the other." Like, I loved it. You know what I mean? Just that I love those moments where he gets a little bit human because he's so fucking Vulcan. So when he does end up being a bit human, I love it. I love it. Yeah. So yeah. Anyways, hey, look, he's on my shoulder. There's Gunner on my shoulder. Look, Gunner's on my shoulder.
What's
Gunner
up,
is on my shoulder. He fucking so scared of me, but he's on my shoulder. All right.
That's
anyway,
awesome.
Let's go. Yeah.
So we have another ringing ears time skip jump cut as Pike and Mbanga were preparing to press onward to the palace. We cut to the Enterprise where Ortegas and Spock succumb to the radiation on the bridge. Ortegas freaks out and she leaves the bridge. On the turbo lift, she asks the computer to take her home, and it starts directing her to her quarters.
Is that everyone's fucking zombies in the corridors?
Yeah, it's a very disturbing shot of just everybody, not knowing what the hell's going on, especially when Chapel walks by and like looks through.
Yeah, and you realize
that was like
she's been
really
affected.
Creepy.
Yeah, she's been affected as well. So,
by the way, I thought that it was really stupid. Like the whole yellow lights on the side of the road or on the side of the hallway is like so. What if everybody started using that? It just seems very. It seems like
flashing lights, but no. But she was told by the computer to follow it. As far as
I know, but I'm just saying. I think it was a bit.
What the fuck that shit is.
So they put those big ass lights on there just to guide people down the hallways. Like, I think Google's kind of transcended to Star Trek. At the corridor, turn left.
So eventually Ortegas does make it to her quarters where she immediately feels more safe and secure. But then the ship starts getting bombarded with pieces of this debris field. we cut back to the planet. Pike is spacing out the exact moment when they get to the front gate of the palace, and Vanga's back there fighting by himself and ends up getting his leg grazed. He says that he's going to have to stay behind and starts holding off the guards as Pike presses on alone. On the Enterprise, Ortegas asks the computer to stop the rocks, and it kind of leads to this back and forth conversation where the computer asks her if she wants to plot a course. It informs her of her name and that she flies the ship. And she decides she's going to fight her fear, head back to the bridge because she's the only one who can save the day. And she uses, I'm Ortegas, I fly the ship as a mantra to kind of fight her fear and get there. And this coming from the guy who allegedly hates her terribly. I liked Ortegas this episode. I like this kind of bit where she gets to she drops the tough guy act, and we see her be vulnerable, and it makes her relatable in a way that she wasn't before.
I agree. I told Jesse Gender, who but a lot of people like Ortega. I told Jesse Gender, look, Ortega pisses me off beyond belief with her fucking quips. I didn't want to go on by saying she should just shut the fuck up and fly the ship, because that kind of sounds a bit misogynistic, even though I do feel that she should shut the fuck up and fly the ship. But nevertheless, I like what they did with her today. I really did. This is how you focus on these characters in a way that is more palatable, and I liked what they did with Ortegas. I liked it a lot. So, and Daniel Vance was a Starfleet officer until he took a bullet to the knee. Yeah.
Nice Skyrim reference, Daniel Vance. Good one. So Ortegas makes it to the bridge, and she tells Spock that she's the pilot. She's gonna get them the hell out of here, and that she feels it's right. That she feels she knows that's her place. And Spock repeats something that he said earlier in the episode: feelings are not facts. And but he ends up acquiescing.
Oh my god, Spock just quoted Ben Shapiro. Are you serious? How can Spock do that? No, facts don't care about your feelings, something like that. Or no. I know he's quoting it differently to make it come across different, but that's the first thing I thought of when you said that shit. Oh my god.
Well,
anyways,
I'm pretty sure Ben Shapiro did not come up with that phrase.
So somebody much smarter had to. But he expresses faith in her, and they begin to try to fly out of the debris field. On the planet, Pike has made it to the throne room, and he confronts King Zacharias, and but he's informed that there is no casket, that he's not going to get that he can't just hand him his memories back.
This is where I found it more interesting. I'm thinking to myself, so now what? Because if there's no way for him to get his memories back, then how does he get his memories back? But lo and behold, the solution was there all along. So
this is the part of the episode that feels very TOS to me. There's this mythical thing on the planet. We're in the middle of a sci-fi show, and there's this mythical type object, this casket in a palace. You've got a very kind of fantasy element thrown in the middle of a sci-fi episode. But then you get the reveal that there is no mythical thing. There is no casket. It was all something scientific-ish the whole time. And that's kind of a thing that happens a lot on TOS, at least the episodes I remember seeing. And so I like it when they try to do that old feel with Strange New Worlds, because it is kind of that same time period. But Captain Pike begins to beat on the dude and act in a very this era of Starfleet kind of way. He's reminding me of a certain captain whose dad built the first Warp 5 engine, when he's just going off on him.
No, we don't talk about that Star Trek. That's a no-no, Star Trek.
So Ortegas flies the Enterprise out of the debris field, pulling off this like spin maneuver aileron roll where she
That was in the
uses
trailer.
a
I still
phaser.
think it looked awesome.
It looked awesome. She uses the phasers
do
to
a barrel
drill through
roll.
an asteroid.
No, thread the needle is what they called it.
She said she'd thread the needle
Thread
and
the
drill
fucking
through
needle.
an asteroid with the damn phasers. Sorry, cat jumped in my lap. There's a cat now here.
Nice.
So Zacharias gives Pike the Starfleet tech, and he explains, that the palace's walls and the helmets are made out of magic space metal that protects from the radiation field, and that an asteroid fell to the planet, thousands of years ago that's, causing the radiation. And he laughs.
There's your cat, by the way. It's a lovely cat.
Thank you.
But it was an asteroid that, basically they have like a sort of Saturn ring type thing going around this planet, I believe, which is all those asteroids. Is that correct? Or
yeah, the debris field is left. That
and
the asteroid is a piece of that.
And one of those asteroids ended up going onto the planet, which is causing everyone to have memory loss because the asteroid is on that planet. And so if the asteroid wasn't on that planet, then people wouldn't have the memory loss. Okay.
Yeah, and this civilization might have actually developed.
So then it's surrounded by those asteroids. So it's like another. Well, like what happens if another one lands on the planet? Like
that was my line of thinking too. But the guy begins to mock Pike, laughing at him for falling for the story, and the captain proceeds to beat his ass more savagely, we're seeing what Pike would be like without all the Starfleet training and discipline and education. Is a man who is going to save his people by any means necessary. But
by the way, regarding that planet, they should have left like a little like a buoy or something like that. Some sort of beacon, in case an asteroid lands on the planet again or something along those lines. But fuck the Prime Directive, regardless. I mean,
no, they're never going to go back and check on these people. They'll forget these people existed.
If anything, the asteroid was a godsend, but it made people forget, so they could say literally fuck the Prime Directive. But by getting rid of the asteroid that landed on that planet, people are going to remember that.
What they should have done is they should have gotten everybody outside of that building, so everybody forgot. And then taking the asteroid.
Yeah.
And they just would have had some like the unexplained things in the sky, and that wouldn't have led to
real trippy. They would have been like,
wouldn't have led to any real cultural contamination. But when Captain Pike dramatically has the phaser leveled at him, and we think he's about to pull the trigger, his memories come back just in the nick of time because he's been inside the palace long enough. And he puts the weapon down. He says that this planet doesn't change you. It shows you who you really are. And he says the bit I said about him being someone who's going to save his crew. And, he tells the yeoman that, I mourned for you. I regretted losing you, and I'm going to take you home, but Starfleet will decide what's going to happen to you. So we cut to Dr. M'Benga getting to treat La'an with the not only his restored memories, but also with modern medical technology. And they kind of have a talk about is it better to have not had the pain of our traumatic memories for a while, and they ultimately decide that it's worth the pain to be who they fully are, and that you can't.
Yep, there's that Star Trek 5 reference.
All right, boys, I gotta head out. So I'm giving it an 8, and I'll catch you guys later. Okay.
All right.
See you later. Prosper, Cheeto.
Bye, guys.
Enjoy Bandcamp. All right.
So we're almost there. So we have the character of Luke. He's remembering his dead family, in particular his son, and he changes his mind and believes that the field Kalar should remember. Pike, he asks Pike if he remembers who gave him the necklace, and Pike says, "Somebody I've got to apologize to." So we cut back to the Enterprise, and Ortegas's log gives us our last bit of exposition for the episode. It turns out it was the debris field and the material there that was causing the radiation. But
Oh wow!
Spock,
I'm glad they figured that out.
right. But Spock magicked up the shields to make it reflect the radiation off screen.
Yeah.
And the captain's decided on a permanent solution, and he uses some roundabout logic that Spock says feels sound. Coming back to this whole knowing things by feeling them shtick from this episode.
Well, there are moments. I mean, it's funny in a way. Like there are moments where Spock goes down his human side.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when he makes a guess and all of that, and all of these sort of things. You know, so yeah, I'm not surprised that he feels.
I think that the writers use that phrase specifically just to kind of show a bit of like character growth with him, embracing that humanity a little bit more and learning to trust gut feelings and intuition. Which they're, despite playing him for laughs a lot, they also do a lot of heavy lifting on the Spock character development on here, and it's not lost on me.
Yeah.
So Pike's plan is to have shuttles tractor the asteroid piece up off the planet, pass it off to the Enterprise, and then have the Enterprise fling it back into the field proper.
I thought they were going to do another Riker maneuver with the asteroid, but no, that wasn't the case. I'm thinking, who the hell are they going to throw that at? Yeah, but no.
Nobody there to throw it at.
Yeah.
But through the roundabout logic, Spock agrees with Pike that it doesn't violate the Prime Directive because there hasn't been natural evolution of the society on the planet since the asteroid fell. Ortegas vows that she's never going to forget how awesome her job is ever again, and she once again repeats that she flies the ship. We cut to Pike and Battelle. He's invited her back to his quarters after pulling some strings and getting her ship assigned to be part of the mission to take Yeoman Zach in, for whatever his repercussions are going to be. And he tries to make amends. He apologizes to her, and he says the necklace helped bring a lost sailor home. She's reluctant to reconcile at first, but he tells her that nobody else could understand him and the burdens of command like she does.
I actually thought she was still going to dump him, regardless.
Me too.
Yeah.
But she doesn't. She decides that they'll take it 30 minutes of time, like their dynamic was previously, and they kiss and make up, and we get a beauty shot of the ship and then the credits.
I guess Pike, like his successor, when it comes to the ladies, they can't resist, and there's always a Starfleet officer like that in every show, I think. So
and I mean even in the original pilot in the Cage, Pike's a lady killer. So so looks Daniel Mann said Pike makes a good humble pie. He really does.
Humble pie, something I've eaten quite often in my life. Yeah.
So we'd love to hear from you guys in chat what your ratings on the episode are. Zam, you want to give us some final thoughts? Anything you haven't gotten to yet before your marks?
Yeah, I did find it a little bit silly that they got their memories back just by being in shelter. Considering they were looking for this MacGuffin to get their memory back, fine, fair enough, there wasn't one. But the way Genghis Khan was going on about there not being a MacGuffin, but he would probably realize that if you just stayed in shelter, you get your memory back, made all of that trauma Pike was going through about trying to get his memory back to be a bit stupid, because you would have thought Genghis Khan, when he's fearing for his life, would tell him, just wait, relax, you'll get your memory back, just stay in here, you'll get your memory back. That's what he should have fucking said.
Yeah, but instead of just taunting him more.
Yeah.
He for a minute it seemed like he really wanted it. Like he wanted to die. Like he was begging for it. Like he wasn't acting like he was actually scared. So I don't know.
Ginger gives it the good old 69.
Nice.
69, dude.
Nice.
Yeah,
the only appropriate response to that number is nice.
Yeah.
Um,
Sorry, that's me having to charge my car, which I will do straight after this stream. Yeah.
Okay, so
what are you gonna give it?
Oh, I'm going first this week. Oh wow.
No, have I not given it a mark? Sorry, I apologize. I thought I did.
No,
I'm giving
no,
it.
no.
I'm giving it an 8 out of 10. Once again, this was an old-fashioned episode of Star Trek where everyone's suffering from something, and they're all having to try and figure out how to resolve the issue. In this particular case, it was a little bit different to how it would usually be. Usually, something like this would be on the bridge or in the start or in the ship itself, whilst we had some of our protagonists on the planet, some of them in the ship, and both of them suffering from the same shit, which was also a nice spin on things as well, to tell you the truth. So
the A plot and the B plot were running very concurrently because it was the same peril, but just different locations and different characters. That gave them the freedom to kind of do the Ortegas and Spock character development on top of your typical B plot runner. So I agree with everything you said, and I think I'm going to go with you. I don't usually do halves, but I'm going to do an 8.5 this week. It was really
You're
good.
Giving a high score than me. Fair enough.
No, there were a couple of head scratchers, but I mean, aren't there always on episodes of Star Trek? There's going to be some sort of magic alloy or magic radiation. I just feel like
Jim gave it an X as well. So yeah, overall, I think most people liked it. It was a different take. It was like a 180 from last week's episode.
Yeah,
well,
it's like it's classic Trek type stuff. There's a situation, there's peril, there's down on the planet and up on the ship. But there's a lot of classic Trek there. But then you've got the best of new Trek with strong character development. And this time it happens to be with one established character, a legacy character, so to speak. Then you've got M'Benga, his and Lon's plots are advanced a little bit, but we're more familiar with them. But then they started a new character arc with Ortegas, and they actually let her be vulnerable, and I really enjoyed that.
Well, she'll still get her own episode eventually. Your boy and my best friend of all time, Ryan Jelly Deals, says that yes, he concurs. Yes,
he has not seen a single episode of Strange New Worlds. He's just here to support us and be a troll.
Ryan, Ryan, you need to come join us tomorrow for the Sodomizer podcast. And yeah, you can troll as much as you want because it is the Sodomizer podcast. All right,
that's the official name now.
Well, I've always from the moment Ginger Greek created it, I have called it the Sodomizer podcast because for me that's what it is. It's a bunch of sodomizers talking about stuff, and so yeah, there you go.
Right, and we do that every Friday, right, Sam?
Every Friday. Ginger Greek calls it the World's Gone Insane podcast, and it has, because the world's gone insane when you got a bunch of sodomizers hosting the podcast on a Friday night. You're definitely right. The world's gone insane. So yeah, that's tomorrow. Mate, that is without doubt not true. But nobody else just admits it. I admit it, and I wear it. If I could put a tattoo on my body saying sodomizer, I would, but I probably would never be able to take my shirt off in public ever again. So I don't. So there you go.
But want to give a big thank you to everybody who came and supported us in the chat tonight. We are here to do it for you guys. There's not much point in bringing you a review if there's not an audience, and we appreciate hearing your takes on the episodes. Daniel Vance's little tidbits of knowledge, those nuggets he's always dropping for us. Ginger and Ryan's jokes, they're always on point. Thank you to anybody else, anybody's lurking. Power Line, thank you for showing up. Hope to see you tomorrow at the World's Gone Insane podcast. Is there anything else coming down the pipes that we want to let the audience know about to maybe entice them to subscribe to our channel?
Well, there have been a whole variety of different videos that I've made over this week that were very much on the whim, and they all were quite significant when it came to the most recent pay-per-view by the WWE. Something occurred from that, which I ended up talking about. It's on our YouTube channel. Obviously, the video I kind of made regarding Indiana Jones being pivotal to the Raiders of the Lost Ark, a constant debate that has been popping up over the years. I kind of put that to rest as well with that particular video, as well as me trying out some low-calorie donuts. I'm also on this channel doing that as well. Check it out. There's a really good video, by the way, with Ginger Greek and Cheeto talking about the top 10 fight scenes in the MCU. So check that out as well. Are you all doing Secret Invasion? Yes, I call it Anal Invasion, and we did that yesterday. But we're not doing that on the regulars because unfortunately it's very hard for us to fit it in because we usually do Dark Side of the Ring on Wednesday, but it's on a break at the moment, so we're back with it next week. And then Thursdays today we're doing, obviously, we're doing Strange New Worlds. Fridays is the Sodomizer podcast, so we'll try to fit it in on Saturdays if we can, but we all have lives to live. And to tell you the truth, Marvel stuff doesn't necessarily give us the most amount of views, which is why it's on the back burner. But for you, Ryan Jelly Deals, I'll try and squeeze one in for you.
Well, I know it's appreciated. But yeah, we do all sorts of stuff here. So, sports entertainment, primarily MCU, DC, Star Wars, Star Trek, obviously. Me and Cheeto will sit down and talk about Final Fantasy and Dragon Ball. So if that's something you're interested in, give the channel a subscribe. If you've enjoyed being here in chat tonight, go ahead and give this video the thumbs up, hit the like button. If you're already subscribed, hit the bell icon so you get all of our notifications for every video, every time. You don't want to miss anything here on NerdTube because we're the best channel that you've kind of maybe sort of heard of. Thanks for coming. Live long and prosper.
Adios, amigos.